Well, we know it's a monumental disaster, but we are still trying to understand the exact size and scope of the Gulf oil spill, including how much oil continues to leak. Ian McDonald is a professor of oceanography at Florida State University. He's tracked oil seepage, both natural and man-made, for almost 2 decades now, and he is headed to the Gulf tomorrow, and we're pleased to have him join us. Welcome to Professor McDonald. So, people saying this is about the worst disaster in history, U.S. history. It's nowhere near being contained. Can you characterize the final damage toll?
Oh, no. The final damage toll won't be known for weeks or months or even years. But we know that there's a lot more oil. The oil is beginning to come ashore in damaging ways. So we're starting to see some of the real and acute impacts on people's lives. Could
you say whether or not we've seen most of the damage already, or it is yet to come?
I think there's more to come. I think that the area of Louisiana, which has received this, is going to spread, and I think we're going to see landfalls in other parts. I mean, we're hoping that these will be minimal and that they'll be patchy enough so that they can be contained and cleaned up. But there is no guarantee here, and I think people should brace themselves for the possibilities.
Obviously, you study these things. You study spills, whether they be man-made or natural leakage. What stands out about this one? Give us the best sense. Give us some advice on how to understand the magnitude of the travesty.
Well, there's a big difference between the official rate given out first by NOAA and then repeated very often by BP of 5,000 barrels per day. But independent science done by myself, by John Amos, by Steve Worley, Tim Cron, and others suggests, looking at the satellite data and looking at the actual gusher on the sea floor, that the real rate is somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 barrels per day. And that's actually pretty close to BP's. Yes, it is a shocking difference, and it's also shocking that the government has not yet come up with a defendable rate. Now, our rates we're going to be putting out in peer-reviewed publications as quickly as we can, so that they get full scientific review. How can your rates be so different than what BP and the government is saying? Well, BP is clearly trying to spin this and trying to repress the rates. I think there can be no doubt about that. And there are many reasons why they should do so. BP is literally fighting for its corporate life here, I think we can say. How will you prove? You mentioned satellite. What are some of the other tools that you're using? Well, we're looking at the satellite data. We're trying to integrate the data that from the overflights that NOAA and the Coast Guard and others are conducting, and we're hoping to get more extensive and higher resolution video of the actual gushers. That's not enough. We would like more data, but BP has been very unwilling and uncooperative about adding additional instruments to the seafloor that would help. Let's move on now to a solution. We know BP is going to engage this so-called top kill. Are you optimistic a top kill, which, from what I understand, you just dump tons of chemicals and cement into the leak site? Are you optimistic that's a solution? I don't have direct engineering knowledge of this, and I've been very critical of BP in a number of areas, but I don't think anyone can criticize the sheer mass of metal that they've brought to bear floating now over this damaged well. I mean, there are 4 huge drilling rigs, something like 4 support vessels with 16 manned submersibles on the bottom. This is the biggest deep-sea submersible operation in history ever, and we want it. Everybody wants it to succeed. And optimistic, pessimistic, I don't know at this point, but I'm hopeful, and I'm praying that it works. Yeah, certainly we all are. What is this about the 1990 Oil Spill Act? BP's penalty, any comments on that they should have a steep penalty according to this, that it perhaps isn't being abided by right now? Well, I looked up the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, and I'm not a lawyer, but one of the chapters there states that the civil penalty can be assessed at a rate of $1,000 per barrel. So that would be a very high number for BP. Indeed. Professor Ian McDonald of the Florida State University Oceanography Department, thank you. Appreciate it.